You are listening to A Scary State, and this week we're talking about Maryland. So, Lauren?
Yes, Kenzie.
Let's get scary.
Our neighbors.
Our neighbors, which honestly, writing this story for 2 seconds, I forgot. And I was like, how is that river all the way up there? That's our river. And then I remembered we were in Maryland and we share a river.
I have 2 really funny stories. So the other day, I had to go pick up my mom. She had like tooth surgery, so she was under anesthesia. So they were like, oh, go pull your car up to the front and we'll like wheel her to the car. So I walk up to a car and I felt like I heard it running and I was like, why is my car running? And I look up, I'm at the wrong car. There's a woman in the driver's seat of this car. And I'm like there with my key, like looking at it. She didn't see me at all. She was so like completely on her phone. I like ran away and I was like, oh, that was so embarrassing.
Or maybe she kept her head down so that like
maybe, but like
you were.
Thank God she didn't look up and like jump because there's this random person by her car.
That would have been me.
Because I never see my same car color like parked in the same place that I'm parked. I've seen it driving around, but I've never seen it parked. Yeah. So I went up to that car. It was very embarrassing. Mom thought it was hysterical.
That's why if you have a vanity license plate like yours truly.
Well, I wasn't walking up behind it, though. I was walking like kind of at the side.
I know. That's why if you have a vanity plate like yours truly. So front, back doesn't matter.
I was walking up the side.
Oh, well, I have stickers on the side. 1 sticker on the side.
Oh, yeah, I don't. They're all in the back, which is why I didn't see them.
Well, I didn't want them, the back to be like that cheesy kind of thing where, you pile all the bumper stickers on the back of your car and then you can't see the actual back of your car. Kind of like what people do to water bottles, but on a car.
Oh.
And I didn't want to be that person. So I put it in the side window.
Smart.
Thank you.
Clever.
Thank you. My scary story that I have is I went on an elevator today that I was like, no.
Why? Where was it?
So I had to go pick up my technology stuff for my job and I had to park in the parking garage. I get to the elevator and I'm like, how many floors do I have to go up?
Oh.
Like, it wasn't like the garage was attached to the building. And I was like, do I need to go up and out and like walk into the building? I'm looking at the 2 elevators and one is out of service. And then I'm looking at the 2 buttons. One's supposed to be up, one's supposed to be down.
Right.
The up one is turned that way. And I look over and I see the door for the stairs.
It's like the arrow was pointing you to the stairs instead.
Right. And I was like, I should just take the fucking stairs, especially because there was a sign that was like, if you're going to the lobby, it's just 1 floor up. I was like, I can walk 1 fucking floor. But there was like an alarm next to it. And I was like, I don't feel like walking all the way over there, seeing if that sign says you can't use it except for an emergency and then having to walk all the way back. I'm here. It's 1 floor. I'll be fine. So I push the button. I get into the elevator and I push the button that I needed to go to 5 fucking times before it lit up. And like doors closed and everything.
The universe has given you so many signs to tell you to get off this elevator.
So it goes up and I said, I'm not doing that on the way back. So I did have to go up an elevator, but it was inside the building and it seemed much more
safe.
Thank you. And so do all my stuff, go back down. And then I go out into the garage. But instead of turning to go to the elevator that's right there, I just go to the stairs.
Yep.
I even like test the little like thing.
Oh, I've done that too. Yep.
But then I turn and I look at the stairs. I'm like, this is almost as creepy as the fucking elevator. I took a picture.
Oh, yes. Please let me see.
Because I was like, she's never going to believe me. I'm like, I don't know which one's worse. That's where you go to die. 100% that's where you go to die.
You'll have to post that on our story so people can see it.
Oh my God. Like,
yeah.
I honestly like
that's where like a killer clown is waiting around the corner.
Yes, I was kind of semi-panicked. Like as I was taking the picture, I was like, you need to fucking hurry up and take this picture and get the hell out of these stairs. Oh my God, I was so scared.
I hate it.
Yeah, it was.
I would just be like, I don't need any of my work stuff. I'm fine.
Yeah. Well, the security lady at the front kind of scared me, so I was too afraid to ask where the stairs were. So I just went up.
I once went to a hospital to go visit Joe, and I asked the lady, I was like, oh, do you have any stairs? She goes, no.
Yes, they do.
None that I was allowed to take. And I said, okay.
I was going to say.
So I had to do the elevator. And
maybe not ones you're allowed to take,
yeah,
but they have to have stairs.
Yeah. So my second funny story.
Yes, sorry.
So
I forgot there was 2.
That's okay. So I washed my pants yesterday, my work pants. Shush.
Most people just say I did laundry.
No, but it's particularly my pants that
Did you just do your pants?
No, there were other things in there.
Okay.
But the pants were in there. And so I needed to dry them, but I didn't want to throw them in the dryer. So I put them on top of the washing machine so that they could dry, air dry. So
you don't have a clothes rack?
No, not yet. I know.
Child.
Well, you said once you were going to buy me one, you never did.
I did?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You said, do you have a clothes rack? I said, no. You said, okay, don't buy one. And I said, okay. It was around Christmas. I never got a clothes rack. So I was holding out hope for like a year. Anywho,
no fucking way.
So no, I don't have one. So I put it on the washing machine. So I asked Joe later in the night, I was like, oh, can you go downstairs and move? Because we had blankets in there. I said, can you move the blankets from the washer to the dryer? And he said, okay. So he does. I go to bed. I wake up in the morning. I already had my whole outfit ready to grab those pants. I go downstairs. They were on the ground.
Even worse.
He didn't even like notice them. So they were damp. So I put on my damp pants today. I got in my car, turned on the seat warmers, turned on the air conditioning to like blow on my legs.
Put it in the dryer for like 2 seconds.
I didn't want to take the things out of the dryer to put them back in the dryer. It was just a whole thing, so I didn't. So my waist was still a little damp when I got to work.
So you had wet. Is that why your shirt was wet?
My shirt was wet?
Your shirt was a little wet.
Oh, no, that's not why.
I was like, damn, was it really hot in your car?
It could have been my water bottle.
Oh.
Yeah.
It was like where like your pants would go. So that's why.
Oh, I washed my hands at work today and there was water on the thingy. And when I looked down, I was like, oh.
Okay. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why. No, it wasn't from my pants still being wet at the end of the day.
So you had wet pants.
Slightly damp, yes.
That's so uncomfortable.
I know.
Did you have like a dry butt after using the seat warmer? Nice.
Everything was dry when I got out of the car except my waist. Because I didn't have the air conditioning directly on. Like I had them on my pants, but it didn't go up to my waist.
You got a small waist.
Oh, thank you. Okay, should we get into Maryland?
I would love to. We've already been, but you know.
Nothing defines Maryland quite so much as the Chesapeake Bay. With fishing, shipping, boating, and tourism, the largest estuary in the United States has been the commercial and cultural lifeblood of the state for centuries. Witness the famous Maryland blue crab, a staple of menus and license plates across the mid-Atlantic. Agricultural runoff and overharvesting have taken a toll on the Chesapeake's crabs, clams, and oysters.
That shit is brown.
Yeah, it is. But you'll still see leathery old watermen piloting crab boats and skipjacks in harbors up and down the bay. Mom and I are going to the beach this summer, as we always do. And we're going to leave a couple days early. And I was like, oh, what beach should we go to? And she's like, you know where we should go? We should go to Ocean City. And I said, okay, why? And she's like, well, because nowhere in like where we go to the beach can you get crabs. You have to actually buy them and cook them on your own. They don't have just like blue crabs ready. You can buy crab legs, but they're super expensive, like the Alaskan crab legs. You can't just buy crabs. So you, like I said, you have to cook them.
Why would that not be a criteria of when you're looking at places to go to make sure that you can?
Well, because we love Carolina Beach. I mean, we cooked the crabs last time.
Because I was going to say, when I've been, now it's like not that beach specifically, but I'm assuming it's along the Outer Bank.
I think so, yeah.
And
I don't think you can get blue crabs.
Okay, maybe it wasn't blue crabs. It might have been snow crabs.
Yeah, you can get the crabs, like the snow legs.
Yeah.
Like the snow crab legs. I don't want those. We want the blue crabs.
The whole thing?
Yeah, like the little crabs that you eat. We don't want the legs.
Oh, yeah. I don't think they do that down there.
They don't. You have to buy them on your own already, like still alive, and then cook them.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah, Dad and Jared did that. Mom and I sat outside and read.
Isn't that what did you do? What do you guys normally do? Are you just dead?
At Ocean City?
No, I'm thinking about for the low country boil you guys do.
Oh, those are crayfish and stuff. Crayfish. And such. And those are all frozen. So they just...
Am I crazy? Wasn't there not a whole crab there?
Mm-mm. No, we've never had whole crabs with that.
Okay, but we have had whole crabs.
We've had crabs.
But not necessarily with that.
Never with that.
Oh, okay.
We've had crabs, but those are usually already cooked when you pick them up. Yeah. So in Ocean City, there's like a ton of places that are already cooked.
So you're going to go all the way up to Ocean
We looked it up. Okay. It's 3 hours to Ocean City, right? And then it only...
From here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It only adds an extra hour from Ocean City down to Carolina Beach.
Oh, because you probably go on the outside.
Because we looked and I was like, is that going to be a 10-hour trip? And we looked up, it adds 1 hour.
Yeah. When I went on the vacation with my dad, I realized I have been on the Delmarva Peninsula because Ocean City is on the peninsula.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was on that peninsula.
So it was on a peninsula.
I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. And my friend Ben, they would go from Chesapeake up to Ocean City all the time. And it was only like 3 hours. I said, that doesn't make any sense.
No.
But apparently there's a really long bridge. Like 13 miles long.
Oh, wow. Well,
Have fun.
I'll experience it and I'll let you know. I'm not as afraid of bridges as you are. That's another thing that this place has. Do you talk about it at all? No.
Yeah.
The Chesapeake Bridge?
Mhm.
In this?
It's down there.
Oh, okay.
Not in this specific chunk, but I put it on there.
Oh, okay, then I'll keep reading. For a true Chesapeake experience, rent a boat near Annapolis and sail over to the eastern shore where the pace is slower and the shoreline is marked with rivers, islands, and steamed crabs at waterside eateries. They're best eaten with Old Bay seasoning, cold beer, and plenty of patience. The shells and the muted beauty of the bay's rivers and marshes don't yield their treasures easily. Speaking of Old Bay, we love Old Bay.
Mhm.
We eat it all the time. We had a tin in our cupboard that said, like, celebrating 30 years of Old Bay. We had another one that said celebrating 50 years of Old Bay. And I said, Mom, throw that one away. She found it.
She had an
hysterical.
Old Bay for 20 years?
It was probably just one of those things that every time you move, and I was like, Donna.
There are some things you don't have to take with you.
Yeah. I mean, we've also lived at
What
that
do you
house.
mean moved? She hasn't moved.
No, I was just going to say, we've lived at that house for 20 years. So yeah, if you put it in there and then we kind of lost it in the back and we obviously bought a new one.
That thing grew crabs. Like, holy shit.
Gives you the crab seasoning right in there. The first people to live in what's now Maryland arrived at least 13,000 years ago, though humans may have been in the area as many as 21,000 years ago. Archaeologists know this because they found arrowheads, beads, and other ancient items in and around Maryland's Chesapeake Bay. That's always so weird to think about.
How long ago people were here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to then realize how tiny of amount of time it is.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
In 1850, Maryland would become an important part of the Underground Railroad thanks to Harriet Tubman, a Maryland native who fled the state to escape slavery but returned to rescue and lead others to freedom. I did not know she was from Maryland.
Same.
That is cool. Maryland is a leading producer of blue crabs, oysters, and clams. Do you like oysters? Probably not.
No, it's like swallowing snot. Absolutely not. I will not try it. I can't look at other people when they do it.
Oh, I love oysters.
It looks like you are swallowing a hunk of snot.
Oh, they're so good. But I haven't had any recently because there's like this brain eating thing in them. Yeah, it's some bacteria that starts with a V. I can't remember, but a couple people have died from it. So I won't eat it.
Yeah, anything that's like, I like shellfish, but not those shells. The shellfish also have to have legs.
Also have to have legs.
Yes.
Maryland has an official state exercise, and it's walking.
Shout out.
Okay. The Great Fire of 1904 destroyed much of downtown Baltimore, but led to modern fire codes. Maryland is home to the National Cryptologic Museum, highlighting the history of code breaking and cryptology.
So do you know how confusing it was for me when people would be like, cryptology? I'm like, oh, you're breaking codes. And they're like, no, Bigfoot. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Maybe that one's cryptidology. No, cryptology. I don't know. No, cryptids. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The Chesapeake Bay Bridge is one of the world's longest continuous overwater steel structures.
And as long as I'm not driving, my eyes stay closed the whole time.
I don't like driving it. I don't mind being the passenger because then I can actually look around and not be freaked out. I know.
That's worse.
I
That's
know,
why I have to close my eyes.
I like it. Joe and I have to cross over it. Well, I don't love it, but I don't hate it. As long as I don't look down. Joe and I have to cross over it on Monday. Mm-hmm.
My palms are sweating just thinking about it.
The Appalachian Trail passes through Maryland for about 40 miles. Maryland does have a town named Chevy Chase, but it's not named after the actor or the comedian.
Just so you know.
Oh, okay. Chevy Chase, Maryland.
In case you didn't. Now you do.
If you don't know, now you know.
You know? I think that's how the song goes.
I don't know.
You don't know, now you know. You know?
Oh, it might be.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, those are neighbors to the north.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, I'm thinking, did they go anywhere other places? Because they're kind of over to
They're like northwest.
Yeah.
Because the little handle thing goes to the west.
Yeah, that part of the handle, but there's the other little part of it. But that's over there.
The Delmarva Peninsula.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what Delmarva stands for?
Delaware, Maryland, Virginia.
For all the people who didn't know.
Apparently I've been to it. Remember we just,
right.
we just had this discussion.
I've been there with you.
I know.
Yeah.
And apparently Rehoboth is on it too. And I was like, damn, I have been here.
Rehoboth, Bethany, Fenwick, Dewey, Ocean City.
I was a little bummed. I was like, I thought I was going to be going to I did go to a whole new place because I've never been to Chickateague before.
Right.
So yes, that was new. But I really thought I was going to literally a whole new landmass that I've never been to. And I'm like, oh my God, you have been here, you loser.
Did you not know it was right next to Ocean City?
Nope.
Oh.
I still don't understand how we get there.
This is pretty much the same way you get to Ocean City.
I know.
The drive that you and I have done so many times
I
together.
realized that as we were driving. I was like, I have seen all of these things before. This is not unique and different. I am not learning anything new.
This is such a letdown.
I'm so upset. Yeah. I know what we have to do, but it just, none of it makes sense. It doesn't make sense.
Did you still have to go over the Bay Bridge?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Dad was driving, so I closed my eyes.
Yeah.
And it's really long when you close your eyes.
Yeah. I feel like I wouldn't like that.
Well,
I have to have them open to make sure I can see everything that's going on.
My thing was I was starting to worry that he was forgetting to tell me that I could open my eyes now.
So you're just like 20 minutes into the drive, your eyes are still closed.
And I'm like, can I open my eyes now? There was one time on the way back I opened, I was like, no, I can't. No, I can't.
Would you rather drive on the bridge during the daytime when your eyes are closed?
Yes.
Or at nighttime?
Yes. No. Not nighttime. Nighttime would be worse. Nighttime would be terrible.
Nighttime's not that scary because you can't see anything.
That's half the problem.
No. See, I didn't mind that one so much.
I mean, like, I don't want to see anything, but it's like because I can't see anything, then I feel very, like, not secure.
Okay.
And so at least if I'm driving and it's during the daytime, then, like, I shut off my peripheral vision and I focus so goddamn hard on the car in front of me. We become best friends. And then we go. Everyone is silent in the car except for the music playing. White knuckling the shit out of the steering wheel and breathing in through my nose and out through my mouth. And then once we kind of start to decline, the closer we get, then the more relaxed I become.
Once we do start on the decline, I do relax a little bit more too,
Yeah.
because I'm like, okay, if I fall from this height, I won't die.
Correct. That's my mentality too when I go up in heights. So
Because
if I
it
fall
is
from
scary.
here,
Because that bridge, it is. If you jump off from the top, you will die. Which is why it's so scary being up there.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
And it's like, especially, oh my God, if it's windy.
Oh, okay, yeah. Mom once drove on the bridge. She was bringing us home from the beach. It was downpour raining.
Oh my God, no.
Awful storm.
I would have
You
pulled
couldn't
over.
see the difference between the sky and the water.
I would have waited till the storm passed. There's no fucking way.
You can't. So,
Well, if it happened when I was on the bridge, obviously. But I mean, like, if leading up to it, it's
it got
weather's like
even
that.
worse when we were on the bridge.
Oh, I'm sure.
And
You're out in the water.
I was looking at her and she was so calm, like stone faced, so calm. And then at the end we got off. She was like, oh my God, that was terrifying.
I feel like that's,
I was like, you did such a great job.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are good at the internal panic.
Others are not.
Well, I'm good at keeping it internalized if I have to be, but if you're in the car, I know I don't have to be, so we're going to make me more comfortable as I drive over this tall-ass bridge, and I'm going to white-knuckle it.
Honestly, anything for that. Have the driver comfy.
Right.
I
Thank
get
you.
that.
Yeah. And even Dad was like, I'm not a fan, but
Right. I'm not a fan, but I can do it.
yeah, I don't change lanes.
I don't do that either.
Center lane, because then that leaves the least amount of view.
The worst part, though, is when you're one direction and you're
Oh
on
my
the same
God.
lane that has the direction going
Okay, we
the
gotta
other
stop
way.
talking about this. I'm starting to get heart palpitations. That is like my biggest fear. I hate when that fucking happens.
Right. Hopefully your heart palpitations have gone down. So do you have a story for us?
I do, but my heart palpitations are gonna go back up because I only got to proofread like 3/4 of this.
You're editing. I'm not.
I know. But yeah, I do got a story.
Okay.
And we are talking about the most haunted park in Maryland.
Oh,
Maybe even the whole United States, depending on the website.
of course.
For over 350 years, the people who lived in and around... Okay, this I also need to tell you.
Okay.
It's called Point Lookout,
Okay.
but I really want to say Lookout Point.
Oh, yeah, that does sound better.
Right. So if I say that, 1, I'm sorry. 2, if you notice, tell me.
Okay.
I've been pretty good about doing Point Lookout as I read, but just in case.
Okay.
So at this place, they have imprisoned, tortured, and massacred each other, as in humans doing this to each other.
They have what? Imprisoned was the first thing you said?
Imprisoned.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
There have also been plenty of shipwrecks, fires, disease, and war to add into the mix. Put it all together, and you get a very haunted park, campground place.
Okay.
So Point Lookout State Park is a public recreation area and historic preserve at the southernmost tip of a peninsula formed by the Chesapeake Bay and the Potomac River in St. Mary's County. When I first saw Potomac River, I was like, how? How do you have the Potomac River too? But then I was like, oh, because you're right fucking there.
I know you keep talking about all these things. I'm like, oh my God, that's right by us.
Right. And it like didn't make sense for a second. I was like, the Potomac River goes up that far? And sure as fuck does. And Maryland is right there.
Right there.
It is not far. This place is the southernmost spot on Maryland's western shore, which is part of the coastal region on the western side of the Chesapeake Bay.
Oh, okay.
We're not going.
Okay.
The whole place is just teeming with shit. So the area had been used for thousands of years as hunting and fishing grounds by the Yaucomico tribe of the indigenous Americans. The Spanish explorers first sighted the area in the 1500s, and the famed explorer Captain John Smith came ashore at Point Lookout in 1608.
Oh.
Smith sent reports on the area to the King of England. I don't think he stuck around for the Revolutionary War because I don't remember seeing him much after the colonies and shit.
John Smith?
Yeah. Didn't he go back to England?
Yeah, he brought... No, that's a different person. Yes, he did.
John Rolfe brought her back.
Yep.
Yeah. I know that only because I played him in a play in 4th grade.
John Ralph or John Smith?
John Ralph.
Oh.
I wanted to be Pocahontas.
Why did you have to play him?
It was Virginia Studies. We were doing
That's
a
so
play.
sad.
And I got picked for John Rolfe. But I got to marry Pocahontas, so He sends reports on the area to the King of England, and he notes that the soil is very fertile and it's a very good place for strategic military value. There we go.
Wow.
He described it as a prime spot for a potential British colony.
Wow, okay.
So the first settlement in Maryland occurred in 1634 in the nearby city of St. Mary's, and it was colonized by Leonard Calvert, who became the first proprietary governor of colonial Maryland.
Calvert County.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Point Lookout became part of St. Michael's Manor, which was his home. And unfortunately, this is kind of where the positive aura about this place pretty much ends.
Okay.
So, some of all the sad stuff. Governor Calvert died in his mid-30s due to disease, and supposedly his son drowned in what would become Calvert Bay.
Oh my gosh.
There may have been an attack from Native Americans in that area, obviously trying to take back what was stolen from them in 1648, and maybe they killed a bunch of people.
Who's to say?
Who's to say? This area was also raided by British forces during the American Revolution because of its strategic position in the Chesapeake Bay.
Right.
You could see it all.
Mm-hmm.
But the area got its name from its role as a lookout post, hence the name,
Right.
to watch for British ships' movements during the War of 1812.
Oh.
So post-revolution, we're a country, but England's still mad at us.
Why couldn't they have thought of a better war name for that? We had the Civil War, the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812. It's so boring.
Yeah.
It tells you exactly when it was, but it's still boring.
Yeah. It is all unnecessary.
Well, that too.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, we have World War I.
But that also makes sense.
Right. This was the War of 1812.
I know.
There's the 100 Years' War. Guess how long that lasted?
Did it really last 100 years, though?
I'm pretty sure.
I thought it didn't. I thought that was the funny thing about it.
There's one that on the 7 Years' War that only lasted 7.
I have to look it up. It lasted 116 years and 4 days.
Okay.
Well, then that's longer than 100. The 116 Years War.
Yeah, but I know that's not what your ass was thinking. You were thinking
I thought
less.
it was shorter. I was. But I was right that it wasn't 100 years. I knew it was wrong, but I didn't know in which direction.
Okay.
116. So what's wrong?
116-year war? That's just too many words. You just got to round it out to 100.
But now they sound stupid. 100 Years War. It was 116.
It was still at least 100. Anyway, so a local citizen militia in St. Mary's County established a secret base at Point Lookout to monitor movements of British warships in the bay. The militia was able to send intelligence reports to Washington, D.C. using a nighttime system of post riders. The roads in St. Mary's were notoriously terrible at the time, and it was more than 80 miles by horse to get to Washington.
Ugh.
The men set up a relay system that passed messages from one rider to the next. The system worked for over a year until the British finally came ashore and seized and occupied Point Lookout. The militia was no match for the overwhelming power and number of seasoned British ground troops. This led to the end of the intelligence efforts, and some say this may have contributed to the eventual burning of Washington in August of 1814 by the British. During the early 1800s, the Point Lookout coast was responsible for many deadly shipwrecks, so much so that in 1827, Congress ordered a small beacon light to guide ships and boats that were headed into the Chesapeake Bay or the Potomac River.
Oh, wow.
The lighthouse was up and running by 1830, but it wasn't without its own hardships. So the lighthouse was originally a 1.5-story wooden and masonry building that was made to house the keeper and his family. In 1883, another story was added so 2 keepers and their families could live in the house. This allowed the many difficult duties involved in lighthouse keeping to be shared.
Good. Mm-hmm.
The lighthouse was active for more than 135 years until the Navy purchased it in 1965 and an automated light was placed offshore. The lighthouse remained a residence until 1981.
Oh, wow.
The Point Lookout Lighthouse is said to be the most haunted lighthouse in the nation, maybe even the world. There are many tragedies that befell this historic building. The first keeper, James Davis, lit the light on September 20th, 1830. Unfortunately, Keeper Davis died on December 3rd, 1830, and his daughter Anne took over his duties until 1847.
Wow.
Supposedly, she was found lying in the lantern room, having died while performing her routine tasks.
Oh.
In 1853, Richard Edwards was installed as the keeper, but he too soon died. His daughter Martha assumed the duties until 1855, when she turned the light over to her sister, Pamela.
Oh, so she didn't die.
No. Pamela served until 1869. The records indicate that she was removed with no reason given for the removal, but apparently these positions were very political. And so sometimes because of...
The political lighthouses.
Yes. It's polarizing. In November of 1862, a Union gunboat, the USS Tulip.
Oh, it sounds so unthreatening.
Traveling from Point Lookout to D.C., exploded en route.
Oh.
There had been problems because of a damaged boiler, so when Captain William Smith gave the order to increase steam pressure, the boiler exploded, causing the ship to sink.
Oh.
Either 47 or 57 lives were lost, and possibly 8 or 10 survivors. For sure, 8 mutilated, unidentified bodies washed up on the shore.
Oh.
In 1878, a storm known as the Gale of 78.
No.
Can I tell you that as a child, I used to get really stressed out of like, well, when it comes around to 2020, what are we going to call it? The 20s? We already had the 1920s. People are going to get confused. It really bothered me as a kid.
Does it still bother you as an adult?
No, not until I saw Gale of 78. And I was like, which one? Which 78? There's been a lot.
That's a good point.
Thank you.
Is it 1978?
1878.
Oh, see?
Yeah.
Tricky.
That's why I said in 1878.
Oh, I don't know. Skip right over. When I think of like you saying like 78, I'm like 1978.
1970. See, that's what I'm saying. When people would think, oh, in the 20s, they're thinking 1920s.
Yeah.
But now we're in the 20s.
I know, and I don't like it.
So like when we get to 2030, are we going to say, oh, back in the 20s?
Yeah.
No.
I made the decision for all. No.
Yeah. You're going to have to say 2020. The 2020s.
That works too.
Still sounds weird.
Yeah, it does.
Anyway, this Gale of 1878, sank a cargo and passenger steamer named the Express after strong winds caused a wave to crash into the ship, capsizing it.
Oh.
Only 15 of the 39 passengers and crew survived. Captain James Barker did all he could to save his passengers and crew. Unfortunately, he couldn't save everyone. Captain Barker had fastened his son to a makeshift raft he created from the wreckage of the ship. Feeling his son was secure, he went to help the second mate, Joseph Heaney. Heaney most likely drowned after falling through a skylight while crawling along the deck of the ship when it was flipped over.
Right.
When Barker went back to help his son, the raft had floated away with his son nowhere to be seen.
Oh, no.
Unfortunately, he never saw his son again. This is the same year that apparently a prestigious summer holiday spot, the Fenwick Inn, burned to the ground.
I know the Fenwick Inn.
But I don't think it's the same Fenwick Inn.
Oh.
I don't know, though, because when I tried to look it up, all it did was show the Fenwick Inn in Ocean City.
Right.
And so I was like, I'm not sure if this... I think something definitely happened to a hotel and it burned down. I'm not sure if that's what it was called.
Oh.
This story was very difficult to piece together. So, bear with me. The lighthouse isn't the only part of the park that's history is less than to be desired. The area played a major role for the Union Army during the Civil War. In 1862, Point Lookout was transformed into a port and temporary city of civilians and military personnel, with multiple structures made to support the war effort. They had a huge... No. Hitch.
I did that at work the other day.
Every time. Even if I'm watching TV and I'm by myself, I go, it was huge. I go, huge. All because of you.
That's such a legacy to have.
They had a large Union Army hospital, troops stationed at Fort Lincoln, and a prisoner of war camp to hold captured Confederate soldiers. Hammond General Hospital received its first patients on August 17, 1863. The Union needed a space to put the thousands of Confederate soldiers that they had captured during battle. They built a 40-acre prison compound just north of the hospital with a 15-foot-tall wooden fence surrounding the compound. It was officially named Camp Hoffman and was made to hold about 10,000 men. In September 1863, 4,000 Confederate soldiers were being held at the camp. By December, that number had doubled to 9,000. And by the following June, less than a year after the camp opened, more than 20,000 prisoners were crowded into the space.
Jeez.
With the crowded conditions, 16 men were placed in one tent, and they were in poor sanitary conditions. It was the largest Union-run prison camp, and its reputation was one of the worst. During the prison's operation, filth became prevalent and wells became contaminated.
Ugh.
Men literally froze to death in their Sibley tents, which according to Maryland.gov is a, quote, rudimentary structure offering little protection from the elements.
Ugh.
And they only had one blanket and very little wood. One blanket apiece. But still.
Yeah.
It's the end of the Civil War. It's April 1865, and federal officials began transferring the Confederates south. And by late June, the last prisoners were gone. In just under 2 years, out of the 52,264 Confederate imprisoned at Point Lookout, between 3,000 and 8,000 men died.
Wow.
Exposure, disease, and starvation took their toll.
Dang.
Despite a death rate of 8%, this was still less than half of the death rate among soldiers who were in the field with their own armies.
Oh my gosh.
It was the deadliest war on American soil. Like, it's one of the only ones. There was like a few in the beginning, and then we haven't had one. We'll see how this November goes.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Today, 2 monuments honor the memory of the prisoners who died there. The first was built by the state of Maryland and dedicated in 1876. The U.S. government followed suit, erecting the second monument in the early 1900s. In 1965, 100 years following the end of the Civil War, which is crazy that was 100 years prior to that,
Yeah.
the Maryland State Forest and Park Service began development of Point Lookout State Park, and today the park comprises of 1,064 acres. So a lot of Lauren houses.
A lot of Lauren's mom or parents' houses.
Maybe an unpopular opinion. I don't know what you think. But this war is so polarizing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk about it, everyone knows the reason.
For which war?
Civil War.
Oh, okay.
Like this war. When I say this war, I mean Civil War.
Okay.
Yeah. And the fact that you had this whole group of people fighting to keep other human beings enslaved
I know.
because it was cheaper. I don't know how I feel about a monument being there.
I see. Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, I don't like it if I see a Confederate flag flying anywhere.
Right.
I think that's ridiculous.
And like, we obviously don't like the fact that people died.
Right. But
the
that's a
reasoning
cause that they
behind-
were fighting for.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I just feel a little,
Yeah.
it's like the part how I like to pretend that Virginia wasn't part of that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, that's a little embarrassing. Just shh.
No, yeah. I get that.
So I don't know. Like you said, I don't want people to die. I don't want them to die inhumanely.
Right. Yeah.
But I also think about how people, Black people were treated then.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you probably did those same things. They probably lived in those same conditions.
Yeah.
And so again, I go back to, you're looking at this and being like, oh, it's unfair that they were put through that treatment. It's like, hello?
It's like it is,
Right.
but it should have been seen as unfair for everyone who was put through that treatment.
Correct. So
Mhm.
I just, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is this place is haunted as fuck.
Okay.
So given the history of the lighthouse and its surrounding shores, it is no surprise that people, both past and present, have claimed to have experiences with the paranormal. Numerous investigators have visited the house to have their chance at a paranormal experience. The lighthouse has been featured in TV shows like Weird Travels and Mystery Hunter. I did not watch either.
Mm-mm.
I didn't even go look for them.
I can't say I'm super surprised.
Honestly, there's so much here I didn't need to go look for anything else. I didn't have time. Some of the more well-known stories come from the park rangers and former lighthouse residents.
Ooh.
So park manager Gerald Sword lived in the lighthouse in the 1970s. This is the 1970s, like actual 1970s, not 1870s.
Yeah, you said 1970s.
Yeah, but I figured we were just talking about Anyway, it's not important. Sometimes I explain things because I'm like, in my head, I'd get confused.
Well, because I think you thought you said the 70s. You didn't. You said the 1970s. So I had no thought that it was the 1870s because you said 1970s.
Anyway, I don't know what I was trying to say there. I don't know. Again, one night he was sitting in his kitchen when he got a strange feeling that he was being watched.
Oh.
A violent storm was moving in and lightning lit up the kitchen window where Sword saw the face of a young man. The man was wearing a floppy hat and a loose-fitting coat. Sword opened the door thinking he was welcoming in a visitor out of the storm. Instead, the young man floated in and promptly disappeared. Also, I'm like, why are you opening the door? But then I'm like, a man in the 70s. Of course you open the door.
a man, one, in the 70s. People always open the doors in the 70s.
Right.
That's why there's so many serial killers.
True. Sword thought the figure looked familiar, and Sword believed the man was one of the crewmen from the steamer Express that had wrecked in 1878.
Ah.
The description of second mate Joseph Heaney in the newspaper from the time matched the image Sword saw in his window. Some said that they have also seen the spirit of Heaney along the beach in a soaking wet uniform before major storms. Sword also reported doors that opened and shut mysteriously on their own. There were footsteps in empty rooms and on deserted staircases. He would hear the sound of something crashing to the ground, and upon investigating would discover that nothing could be found out of place. He would frequently hear snoring in the kitchen and at times hear voices outside the back or front of his house. Eventually, Sword moved to a property located adjacent to an old Civil War road that ran the length of Point Lookout.
Oh, yeah, I bet that's not any less creepy.
On several occasions, his German Shepherd seemed to see someone or something traveling on the old road. Sometimes his dog would sit and watch the invisible traffic go by for long periods of time.
Oh.
Other times, the dog would bark or lunge at an intruder walking down the road, only no intruder was actually ever seen. Sword wasn't the only lighthouse resident to have ghosts for guests. Laura Berg and her husband Eric lived in the lighthouse in the early 1980s. She had heard about the experiences experienced by Sword, along with other ghost stories, such as fishermen throughout the years having heard calls for help on the water only to discover that there was no one to be found.
Ew, I don't like it.
The first night Berg spent the night in the lighthouse, she was awakened to the sound of heavy, possibly old-fashioned boots walking up and down the hall. Some mornings she heard a female voice at the top of the stairs singing. Although she could never tell what the song was, it seemed to be a very happy one.
Oh, okay.
She noticed one of the rooms had a very bad odor at night. This is the first time I've ever, besides like cigar and things like that, this is the first time I've ever really seen or heard about a place having like a really, really bad odor.
And like, sometimes it's like cigar smoke, perfume smell, roses, flowers.
Right. It's like this was like apparently really, really bad. Sometimes she heard the sound of men laughing and talking in the south side living room, but when she checked for intruders, no one was there. One time when Berg's parents were visiting from Baltimore, her mother was woken up in the middle of the night by someone calling her name. Another friend who visited saw a woman in a blue dress standing in the living room. Thinking the woman might be another guest, the friend asked Berg who it was, and when they returned to the living room, the woman in the blue dress was gone.
Naturally. Some
reports said that there is supposedly a famous photo of this woman in the blue dress standing at the top of the stairs inside the house. I couldn't find it. I did find a lot of pictures, though. So
I'm sure.
I'm going to have to show you.
Oh, okay.
Many believe it was the daughter of the first lighthouse keeper, Ann Davis. Throughout her time in the house, Berg never felt threatened by her strange experiences. One night, Berg had woken up to see a circle of 6 lights over her head. She wasn't sure what it was, but soon after she woke up, she could smell smoke coming up from the first floor. Berg ran downstairs to find that her heater was on fire. Thankfully, it was a small fire, and Berg caught it in time to put it out before it caused any real damage.
Oh my gosh.
Berg believed the spirits were the ones who had alerted her to the fire and saved her life.
So they don't seem awful.
No. Berg had become increasingly fascinated by the energy in the lighthouse, and in 1980, she asked park manager Sword to help her find out more. They got in touch with the Maryland Committee for
Cyclical?
Yes. Research.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And experts Ron and Nancy Stallings, Kevin Mack, Sarah Estep, and medium Kathy Bradford of New York joined to investigate the many sightings at Point Lookout. Advising the group was Hans Holzer, a professor of the New York Institute of Technology who had written 60 books on the paranormal and who produced the 1976 to 77 NBC series In Search Of.
Okay.
When they first investigated the house, they were supposedly able to capture images of a headless Confederate soldier leaning against a wall in one of the bedrooms and many cone-shaped lights that were not be able to be seen by the naked eye that they obviously saw later.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I hate the the headless Confederate soldier.
Right.
I don't want that in my room.
No. Holzer experienced intense psychic impressions in several of the rooms. He told Laura Berg that he could feel, quote, pain and suffering in a small bedroom on the second floor. Berg later told him that it was the room that had the horrible odor at night. Supposedly, Holzer declared, quote, that place is haunted as hell. The group returned with more sophisticated equipment to investigate the lighthouse and conduct a seance.
Seances were a big thing back then.
Yeah, there was 2.
Oh.
Not with these guys. We'll get there.
Okay.
I don't talk quite as much about their seance because they ended up recording 5 minutes of voices.
Oh, geez.
Altogether, they recorded 24 different sounds in and around the lighthouse, and I might have found them.
Oh.
I don't know. I haven't listened to them yet because I ran out of time, so I thought we could listen to it.
Okay.
One report I read said that some of the voices were jubilant and varied from male to female, young and old. Some voices sang and some said they were cursed. Some called for help and one said, "I was in the water." The voice of a young boy asked, "Can I play?" A voice of an old man called out, "Get off that pier." And a lady said, "Let us take no objection to what they are doing." Near the Civil War hospital, a voice said, "Bad shape." Yeah. At the old road bed where the prisoners were marched from the steamboats to the prison, a male voice ordered, "Fire if they get too close to you."
Oh.
2 unexplained sounds also turned up on a recording. In a picnic area, a blast from a steam whistle. And then inside the south basement of the lighthouse, it sounded like a shutter was rattled in the wind, but there had been no wind and the shutters had been removed many years earlier. Linda Andrus of Southern Maryland investigators wasn't disappointed during her investigation of the lighthouse. Andrus had learned about weird voices and other hauntings at Point Lookout from a friend who had worked at the Chesapeake Bay test range. Intrigued, she and partner Lori Malloy, her name is definitely Lori, and her last name is Malloy. But that's obviously the first time I've said that out loud. Sought permission to check out the site. Andrus said, quote, "They made us the official Ghostbusters of Point Lookout. It's been one of the most active sites I've ever been to." In 1985, at her first visit to the lighthouse, she also conducted a seance. Her first impression was of an entity named Nathan, followed by a feeling of a strong male presence. Apparently, all 8 people at said seance also felt this presence.
Interesting.
Andrus had received no specific information about the paranormal activity there, and she actually later discovered that the psychic Nancy Stallings had been in contact with the same entity on their visit 5 years earlier.
Oh, how cool.
Andrus and Malloy brought their own cassette recorders and cameras, and Andrus tallied words that she could recognize. In my investigations, she said, I found the word "hey" appears 23 times at the lighthouse.
Oh my gosh.
45% of the voices recorded at Point Lookout were female. "Help me and I can protect you" come from other park locations. The lighthouse isn't the only part of this park that is haunted. According to some historic records, desperate prisoners would try to fake having smallpox in order to be moved to the hospital. I don't know how you fake having that.
I don't know.
Because I'm like, did you get a marker and poke yourself? Like,
right. I
Yep.
feel like that's a very specific, like, I can look at you.
It's
and tell
very
you
visual,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, very visual.
From there, they could attempt to escape along a route that is still traveled in the park today. Park ranger Don Hammett says he has seen the evidence in, quote, the form of a man running towards the woods, always the same section of road at full speed using long strides. "My first thought was I was seeing a trespasser flee," he said, "but I could not find any evidence of human or animal crossing. The site of the crossing is near, but not in, the original area of the Confederate Soldiers' Cemetery. If a man had been running in the same direction during the Civil War," Hammett continues, "he would have been running in a way that took him away from the smallpox hospital." Assistant Park Ranger April Havens recalled her own campground story. She was working the midnight foot patrol. At 3 a.m., a deep, low-lying fog hung in the air, and the smell of campfires lingered.
Ew.
Quote, "I'd walk around the Hoffman camping loop hundreds of times and never seen anything," she said. "Suddenly I felt a chill in the air as I passed Site 145. I felt it as if someone was following me. I heard a noise behind me and saw a row of white, square-shaped tents in the middle of the road. I ran for the camp office and quickly shut the door. I'm now a believer."
I would have probably done the same thing.
Campers have also reported strange experiences while staying in the park. A group of teenagers who were exploring the grounds with a flashlight spotted a man dressed in Civil War-era garb holding a bayonet. He paced back and forth inside the lighthouse fence as if guarding it. One time, a young woman who was enjoying the beach during sunset before heading back to her tent observed a ghostly figure walk into the water and disappear. Apparently, the strangest story comes from a camper who said he was sitting around a fire circle and started hearing voices around his campsite. Apparently, a moment later, a cold gust ran through his chest, rendering him speechless. In conclusion.
It could have just been a gust, but I would have been scared too.
Yeah, that was like the least believable one out of all of them. In conclusion, Point Lookout State Park offers living history weekends that include historic programs and demonstrations throughout the year. Visitors can spend a day at the beach or visit the Point Lookout Lighthouse. However, the website does say, in regards to the lighthouse, quote, "The Point Lookout Lighthouse grounds are now open to visitors. The lighthouse and outbuildings remain closed for ongoing exhibit installation. When the installments are complete, the website will be updated along with notifications made through the Maryland Park Service social media pages." And while you can normally make reservations for camping, the park website also has a park alert that says, "To facilitate scheduling significant repairs of critical infrastructure, reservations for the Point Lookout State Park campground are currently suspended for the 2024 camping season. Repairs also require the closure of the Nature Center and the Civil War Museum. Dates may change as construction plans are finalized and the work progresses. Although, after you've heard what you've heard today, you might want to reconsider. But that is Point Lookout State Park.
It sounds like they keep saying like, oh, we're doing these things, so this is closed. Oh, we're doing these things, so this is
Yeah,
closed.
a lot of shit's closed right now.
Right. If it were to open again, would you go to the park? Not camping, maybe not the lighthouse, but go to the park for like a day of hiking and beaching?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because it's not far.
So we could do it. Would you go into the lighthouse?
No.
You wouldn't take a tour?
No.
Even during the day?
Probably, I don't know. It's hard to say with a lighthouse, but this like looks like a lighthouse.
Oh.
And so it looks more house than lighthouse.
Mm.
So that's why I'm like, maybe I could,
Mhm.
because normal lighthouses, I just get nervous because climbing up to the top.
Right.
Let's go to the beach first and see what the vibe is.
Okay.
And then we'll go from there. We can't even go in right now anyway. So.
Yeah. I mean, this is for like the future when you're like really brave.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will never go camping whether it's haunted or not.
I know.
So
I know.
that's not going to happen.
I know where we are with you in that.
Yeah. Those were my last days ever. You know, I always say to myself, why try? You know how it's going to go. You know how things are going to work out. Why continue to try these things that don't end well?
I think you manifested a lot of it happening.
No fucking shot.
No one else dumped coffee all over themselves. No one else got their hair caught in a zipper. Because none of us manifested that it was going to be a bad trip.
I didn't have to manifest anything. Nature said, you need to go back inside.
Nature said, you already think this is going to be bad? Let me show you bad. And then it showed us bad.
I was going to say, I could have maybe like given you the first part had there not been a hailstorm that followed soon after. So
my favorite tweet that I saw after that was someone was like, hailstorm and puddle of mud were amazing. Okay, but at least we know we can start at the beach here whenever it opens.
I think the beach is open.
Oh, then we can go to the
Like,
beach.
I think like the park and the beach and like that part of it where you can like walk through it and do nature stuff, I think is open. I think it's just like camping and like the specific buildings that are there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, we don't need to camp.
We're not going to.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Why I said we don't need to camp.
We're not going to go like this summer.
No.
No.
But
we could go. I definitely thought about it because it's not far. And it seems like a fun little
we can
beach
even go during
place.
the winter too. Like obviously not like swim at the beach, but beaches during the winter are still nice.
Yeah, but things are creepier in the winter because the sun.
They are.
in
They
the
are.
sky and there's no
Because everything
trees.
has that chill on it. Yeah.
I don't ever want to go in the winter.
You need the bright light and sun to be like, okay, we're okay
I
now.
need there to be extra serotonin in my brain when I start this.
Okay.
I can't come in low.
Low on serotonin, right?
Yeah.
It would just all go away.
Yeah, because I'd be like, you're gonna die. This is it. But yeah, I need to show you these sounds because they've been uploaded to some website. Oh, it's the website of the lighthouse.
Well, we can put that in our show notes and people can also listen to the sounds.
Yeah, but they've been uploaded since 2000.
Still, you can listen to the
Oh,
sounds.
there's one in 1999.
Oh my God.
Demonic spoken words admonishing people in the house to get out. Ooh. I don't like it when you go second because I forget when you nod at me what the fuck I'm supposed to do.
How many times have we been doing this?
I know. And every time it just throws me off.
Do you think I'm just nodding at you?
I get confused for a second why you're nodding at me because I'm like, I already did the intro. Why are you telling me to go? It's your turn. What spooky tea you pouring, Lauren?
All right. So for Maryland tonight, I have another cryptid. So Maryland is full of cryptids. So we have, well, they have Dogman or the Dueo, which I covered last time. There's also Chessie, Chesapeake thingy, the Goatman, the Eggheads, the Wakamiko Catman, and the Blue Dog of Port Tobacco. But tonight, I will be telling you another one of the many well-known cryptids of Maryland.
I knew none of those.
This one is the Snallygaster.
I know that one.
Yep. It is classified as a monster by the Bureau of Monster Affairs.
I did not know we had one.
I tried to look up more information. I don't think it's real. It was mentioned on one website.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
But hey, classified as a monster on something.
Yeah. I mean, it does look like a monster. It looks like a dragon.
I have a challenge for you coming up.
Okay.
So the first official sighting of this creature was in 1909 and was published in the Valley Register, a newspaper out of Frederick County. The monster was described as having, quote, enormous wings, a long pointed bill, claws like steel hooks, and an eye in the center of its forehead.
Ooh.
My challenge for you, Mackenzie, is
Is to
I
make
want you
that?
to draw this creature before looking it up, just like our duck-footed thing.
Okay.
who I am forgetting which one it was, but yeah.
I don't remember either, but it was some sort of ghoul that had duck feet.
The Gloucester ghoul.
Yeah.
So yeah, I need you to draw the Snallygaster.
Okay.
Don't look it up first. Just based off that description I gave you, the Snallygaster.
Okay.
Okay. But throughout the years...
I can't draw.
I know, but that's why it would be fun.
Okay.
Throughout the years and throughout the tellings, its appearance has changed slightly. T.S. Smart and Mel Cabray described it as, quote, half reptile, half bird.
Well, which description do I go with?
Whatever your heart is telling you.
Okay.
With a tentacle-like tongue and sharp teeth. In their book, A Guide to Sky Monsters.
Tentacle-like tongue?
Uh-huh.
As in there's suckers on it?
If that's what you think. I'll get more. You'll hear. Okay. So
or tentacle as in it's long.
Ed Economix described it as having, quote, sharp talons made of hot glowing metal and possessing several octopus-like tentacles. In his 2012 book, Monsters of Maryland, Mysterious Creatures in the Old Line State.
So I could do like a couple different versions.
You could.
Okay.
And Sarah Cooper, a travel ER nurse who opened the American Snallygaster Museum in 2012 in Libertytown, Maryland.
What a career change.
I know. Has a model of the monster that is, quote, perched on a log with black wings, silver claws, one eye, and a face full of red tentacles.
Okay, so it seems like the red eye and the tentacles is a common theme.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's
and
definitely...
like the big wings, the claws.
This is some fucked up octopus. That's all I'm thinking of. Actually a dragon with tentacles.
Yeah, kind of.
But like tiny tentacles.
I can't wait to see what monster comes out of your brain with this one.
Think like T-Rex with tiny arms, so dragon with tiny tentacles.
Oh, jeez. But most sightings and descriptions claim that it is half bird, half reptile, with dragon-like features and bird-like characteristics.
See, that's the one I imagine, because I think that's the one I know.
So we can describe it a little bit more. So it's rumored to have a metallic beak with razor-sharp teeth.
Metallic beak? As in like the color is metallic? Or it's metal?
I don't know. It uses this beak to attack and feed on victims, draining the victim's blood.
Sounds like it's probably metal.
Occasionally, it has octopus-like tentacles, usually coming out of its mouth.
That's horrible. That's terrible. No.
Some of the pictures are like actually horrendous.
Ugh. I was going to put little tentacles on its back.
I know. That's why I was waiting to this part where I was like, that's not where they're going. So it uses these tentacles to capture and carry off its prey. It also has large wings, sharp claws like steel hooks, and scaly skin. Its leathery, scaly skin ranges from dark brown to yellow and sometimes has darker stripes or other markings. It makes a screeching noise that can be as loud as a train whistle or like a noise that is a cross between a tiger and a vampire.
I don't know, vampire scream. I was thinking like a banshee.
Then that's a banshee.
Hmm?
Are you thinking this thing screams like a banshee or that a vampire sounds like banshee?
I was thinking that they were going to compare it to screams like a banshee.
Oh, yeah, no, they did a tiger and a vampire.
Like neither one of those things scream. They growl.
A noise that is a cross between the two.
So is it hissing and growling, not actually screaming?
We got screeching, we got growling, we got all different ways that this thing is described. Okay. The Snallygaster is commonly thought to hunt farm animals and children in the South Mountain region.
Specifically children.
Yes. It is typically associated with Frederick and known to live in the caves of the South Mountain, Braddock Heights, and Middleton Valley. It has also made appearances in New Jersey, Ohio, West Virginia, and Missouri, and all over Maryland, like Cumberland, Hagerstown, Lover's Leap, Gapland, Burkittsville, and Carroll County.
And at Nat Stadium for the Snallygaster Beer Festival.
I get to that at the end.
That is the only reason I know this monster. And guess what? I didn't know that it was a cryptid of Maryland until you said you were going to talk about it. I was like, what's a Snallygaster? Oh, cool. Like a little mascot.
Yeah. The Snallygaster is able to remain silent and relies on ambushing its victims.
But it's screaming like a tiger and a vampire?
Not as it's attacking you, maybe. Or to scare you. I don't know. But there are ways to protect yourself. So
are you sure? It doesn't sound like it.
Your normal everyday weapons will work.
Are we sure? Because it sounds like this has 20 different versions of itself that could possibly you encounter. And so how do you know that your method works?
That's just a risk you're going to have to take. You're either going to live or you're not. So you have one chance. But the 7-pointed star and other hex signs are known to keep the Snallygaster at bay. Many of these stars and signs can be seen painted on local barns to warn them off. So I'm sure you've seen those stars like in Maryland. Oh, okay. If you drive to Ocean City, which I know you've done, there are like barns that you're going to pass. Some of them have those.
I'm usually driving.
Okay, well, some of them have those stars. So next time, if you're ever a passenger.
Oh, that's what those stars are? It looks like a normal star in the sky, like a little 5-pointed star.
Well, we're looking at the 7-pointed star.
Oh, then I'm not thinking of the same star.
We maybe have seen them somewhere.
I'm thinking of like, you know, like the very southern thing of like
Yeah.
putting up a star.
I don't know. 7-pointed star is apparently the one that we need.
Okay. I hate that it's 7.
Why?
It's 7. I just don't like the number 7.
Oh, okay. So its natural enemy is the dueo.
What is that?
The one that I talked about last time. The dog man.
Oh.
Dog man of Maryland, who also goes by the dueo. They're
Oh, the
natural
really
enemies.
ripped guy?
Yeah.
The one who, like, I was trying to figure out if his feet were like a canine's feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
This guy. So they have reportedly had vicious encounters dating back to the early settlement of the Middletown Valley.
Forget King Kong and Godzilla.
Snallygaster and dueo.
Exactly.
So in 1723, Johann Jacob Schwelcher,
Dingleheimer Schmidt?
a physician and polymath, which I assume is just someone who's good at a lot of different maths, wrote a travelogue on the Alps.
Well, like a polygon with many sides?
Maybe.
So many maths?
Yeah. He knows many maths. So in his little travelogue, he said that the mountains were filled with, quote, scaly dragons and slimy dragons, dragons with wings and feet, dragons with 2 legs and 4 legs, with and without wings, and sometimes without wings or legs, with the objectionable heads with semi-human features and an expression at once humorous and malignant.
So there was like a bunch of them.
Not of the Snallygasters. He's writing this about the Alps.
Oh.
Yeah. Then in 1882, a DC socialite who had relocated to Maryland published a book of local folklore called South Mountain Magic, Tales of Old Maryland. In it, she wrote about the dreaded hoop snake, a creature that puts its tail in its mouth when in pursuit of its victim.
I think that's an actual snake.
And rolls on with an incredible rapidity. The reptile wears a horn on its head and kills whatever it touches.
Or maybe that's just a thing that I've seen in movies.
I think it's a thing you've seen in movies. So these beliefs and their tales, so our Johann guy and this lady, all their tales made it back to other mountains like the Appalachians.
Okay.
Yes. It's going to connect it at some point.
Yeah. I was like, you're seeing a lot of snakes and lizards, it sounds like.
In the 19th century, there was a large flood of German immigrants into Western Maryland. They all settled there as Seneca people. With them, they brought their folklore and their superstitions, all about ghosts, werewolves, witches, demons, and that the mountains were inhabited by dragons. So with this, we got the name Snallygaster. The name comes from the German Schnellgeist, or quick ghost, a term that is often given to some kind of poltergeist. But in this case, it's meant a creature that was half bird, half demon in haunted forests and mountains.
So slightly different.
Slightly. The main origins of the Snallygaster, as we know them, trace back to 1909. And
Main what?
The main origins of the Snallygaster.
I thought you said oranges.
No. Those dang Snallygaster oranges. So the main origins of the Snallygaster.
Why are you adding another syllable?
Origins. Okay, so those things of the Snallygaster, as we know them.
You say it weird.
You're weird. Trace back to 1909 when we have the first reported sighting. So interestingly, it came out right around the same time that the Jersey Devil started to gain popularity. So just
like, oh, you have a Jersey Devil? Guess what? We have a Snallygaster.
Mm-hmm. So just a month after the Jersey Devil sightings began, the Valley Register, which was that newspaper, ran their story. It told of a man named Bill Gifferson. He had been walking home one dark night when a winged creature attacked him, carried him up to a hill, slashed his jugular with its beak, drained his blood, and finally dumped his lifeless body in a ravine.
How do they know?
I wondered the same thing.
That is such a detailed description of something that happened to a dead man who can't tell you what happened.
It's not the same thing.
I'm like, you obviously found him in the stream. How the fuck do you know he was carried anywhere?
How do you know he was even attacked by this bird-like thing?
Right.
Yeah. But also its footprints were then seen in the snow in New Jersey.
In New Jersey?
Yes, because it was about the same time as the Jersey Devil.
Okay, wait. I'm sorry. Wait. So the Snallygaster picks up this guy and kills him.
Uh-huh.
And they know it's the Snallygaster because they found footprints
in New Jersey.
Uh-huh.
We don't know where Bill lives.
But this Snallygaster is supposed to be in Maryland?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't need our map to know that something's not right.
Another potential origin.
Thank you.
Was suggested by Leo Spitzer, a Jewish Austrian literature scholar who settled in Maryland in the 1930s.
Clearly someone to be trusted.
Duh. He believed that the Snallygaster came from an old story, The Wild Hunt, which has Norse and Christian origins. Quote, in it, a group of...
You're subconscious about how you say origins.
I know, I thought I was right. In it, a group of damned souls ride the sky between Christmas and the Epiphany, chased by the wild hunter, the Norse god of wind, and the dead Odin, snatching unwary travelers, especially children, along the way. So he thinks that all of the Snallygaster stuff, taking children, comes from this story.
Okay.
So he doesn't believe it's a thing.
Mhm.
He just thinks that people made this thing based off of these stories.
Got it.
There are some researchers who believe that the Snallygaster could be related further back to Native American legends. The area where the Snallygaster was first sighted was home to several tribes, to include the Susquehannock and the Lenape. These tribes had their own stories of strange creatures that inhabited the forests and mountains of the region. More and more sightings started popping up after that first one. One of note was a man who happened upon the Snallygaster as it was draining a 100-gallon tub of water.
Wait. Say that sentence again, please.
It makes me laugh, and you'll see why. One of note from a man who happened upon the Snallygaster as it was draining a 100-gallon tub of water.
The Snallygaster
Was draining a tub of water. Okay. The man said that after the creature finished draining this tub, it exclaimed, so the Snallygaster exclaimed, "My, I'm dry. I haven't had a good drink since I was killed in the Battle of Chickamauga."
Not that I don't want to give you credibility for your story. Where the fuck did you find these accounts? Because
So many websites.
All of them sound false.
I know.
Every single one. Not even one of them sounds like remotely, well, maybe.
I know.
All of them sound completely untrue.
Oh, yes.
Okay, cool.
There was a wild, unconfirmed rumor that in 1909, President Theodore Roosevelt postponed an African safari trip because he wanted to hunt the Snallygaster.
Doubtful.
He was fresh off his term as president and had been hearing the rumors about this creature lurking in Maryland. One story says that he never ended up encountering the creature himself, while another, mainly a rumor, said that he later killed it, and the creature stuffed corpses in one of the Sagamore Hills storage areas.
What's the Sagamore Hill?
It's all capital, so I assume an area.
Oh.
Yeah. But either way, his belief in the creature and involvement in the search only lent more credence to the myths and legends, causing even more people to start following the tales and legends of the monster.
I don't know. Roosevelt was a pretty sound mind.
That's why people were like, okay, cool. You believe in it? We believe in it. These sightings and reports continued on until good old Valley Register said that there had been a scientific expedition to try to discover the beast's lair. They found it, and as they were approaching, the creature erupted from the ground and flew off to Virginia. It was during this time and period of sightings that the Smithsonian attempted to classify the creature that people had been seeing.
The Smithsonian?
Yes. Hagerstown Mail ran the report of the Smithsonian's response. So Hagerstown Mail, which is another newspaper, is saying that the Smithsonian wanted this.
Okay.
So they reached out to the Smithsonian, and this was their response back. So we never see the Smithsonian's response. We're told by Hagerstown Mail that this was their response.
Oh.
Okay?
Okay.
So the Smithsonian, or Hagerstown Mall says, quote, "They wrote back that it is either a winged buvolopus or a Snallygaster, as it has some of the characteristics of both. These animals are exceedingly rare, and the hide of the Snallygaster is said to be worth $100,000 a square foot, as it is the only thing known that will properly polish punctal shells used by Africans of Umbopland for ornaments." Sounded like a Dr. Seuss book, I know.
It sounded like someone pulled up a random word generator.
Yep. And was like, let's replace these words.
And just, yeah, that sounds like a Mad Libs.
Yeah. So naturally, a reward was offered for anyone who was able to provide the hide of the Snallygaster.
The what?
The hide.
Oh, the hide. I thought you kept saying height.
No, hide.
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 Enunciate. I'm just kidding.
With its main influence and area being the Appalachian Mountains, the Snallygaster started to adapt to the times. It was suggested by a news report in 1932 that the Snallygaster was drawn to the moonshine stills that were hidden in the mountains, which was convenient because on December 12th of that year, the Register, another newspaper, reported that the Snallygaster was dead. It had been drawn to the stills and had actually fallen into a 2,500-gallon vat of liquor in the backwoods after it had been overcome by the fumes. By the time the authorities had arrived, the alcohol, which had lye in it, had completely eaten the beast, leaving behind only the bones.
Is it lye or lime?
Lime, one of those.
Okay.
Maybe lime.
Because I was watching How It's Made.
We've had this conversation before.
And we have?
Uh-huh. About the difference between lime and lye.
No, that's not what I was going to say.
Oh, okay.
I was watching an episode of How It's Made because it's my fall asleep show, and I forget what they were making, but they put lime in it. I was like, isn't that what you use to get rid of dead bodies?
Okay, so maybe it's lime. because it was going into the alcohol.
I don't know. I don't.
Oh, well, whatever it was. Beast is dissolved, bones are only left behind.
Okay.
And about
That is crazy for alcohol.
I know. Well, it's the stills, moonshine and stuff.
I don't know what they're serving.
I don't know. Bad moonshine makes you go blind. So about the bones left over, for unknown reasons, they were destroyed. Prohibition agents blew up the still with 500 pounds of dynamite, completely destroying absolutely any evidence of what could have been the Snallygaster.
Why would they need to do that when they have a bunch of alcohol that they could just light on fire?
Well, I think they wanted to destroy everything, all of the stills, because it was illegal to make alcohol.
Yes, I understand that part.
They maybe just wanted to be like really sure that it gets destroyed.
What I'm concerned with is that if this tub of alcohol made this creature disintegrate.
Oh yeah, why would you want to blow it up?
Is this pre-distilled alcohol or is this the shit they're selling?
1932. Whatever that means.
No, I mean the people who are making it.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that works. I've never made alcohol.
Neither have I, but I'm like, I definitely don't think you can give it to someone if
it can destroy an animal.
Right.
Soon enough, the Snallygaster was being related to anything unseen and unknown.
Yeah.
So UFOs, bootleggers, communists, anything feared or wondered about the Snallygaster was somehow connected to it.
Okay.
It became a sort of local thing, a term used when you just can't explain something.
The Snallygaster is coming to take over.
Yeah.
It's commie friends.
So they'd be like, oh, I've seen UFOs. Oh, no, you just saw a Snallygaster. Oh, there were bootleggers in the woods. No, those were the Snallygasters. Like kind of as a thing where when you don't want to explain it, you say it's the Snallygaster.
Okay.
Like, oh, the communists are here. The Snallygasters.
Oh.
So they're they get thrown into everything. That's just their thing.
Yeah.
But of course, there had to be some dark tone to everything.
Many of these scary.
Well.
Wouldn't match very well with the theme of the show.
Many of the early notes of the Snallygaster said that the Snallygaster specifically preyed on Black people.
I'm sure the Snallygaster did.
Yeah. You're on the right track, yeah. So to get into the horribleness of this a teeny bit, the Valley Register ran a story titled, quote, "The Colored People Are in Great Danger," on February 12th, 1909.
They are in great danger, but it's not from the Snallygaster.
Interesting note about this date, it's actually the day that the NAACP was founded.
It's look at all these coincidences. The New Jersey Devil, all of a sudden we have the Snallygaster and NAACP. Oh, by the way, the Snallygaster, even though it's been around for 20 some odd years, just so you know,
you're in danger. Mm-hmm. The story went on to say that this vampire devil only attacks, quote, colored people, feeding only at night and usually only attacking men, not women, though there were women who have been attacked. This brings about a threat baked into this tale. So one threat was from an eyewitness who claimed that the Snallygaster was, quote, an omen of ill for colored voters who deserted the Republican Party in the presidential election.
Oh, look at that. Another coincidence.
The stories in this context were used to scare them into not traveling around at night, with a big focus on scaring freed slaves into not going anywhere at night and not traveling away. So kind of saying like, your master or whoever just freed you may be bad, but go out into the middle of the nighttime to escape, and the Snallygaster's even worse.
Well, this was when slavery was supposed to be over, if it's in 1932.
Exactly. So that's why it was scaring freed slaves into not going anywhere. That's what these articles have been saying. This is what the newspaper was saying at the time. So the tales kept you in fear of what could be lurking at night, forcing you more to believe the supernatural because the real danger was not believing. So a sort of way of daring its victims to disbelieve and go outside. So it's like a thing where it's like, oh, you don't have to believe us, but you can go out and see what happens. In 1932, there was a resurgence of the Snallygaster lore, which led one paper to try to connect the Snallygaster to another urban legend.
Did you say 1832 or 1932?
19.
Okay. No.
Don't question me.
I am going to question you because now I'm confused because I thought we were talking about 1932 this whole time.
We were.
But then you just said in 1932 there was a resurgence.
Yeah, so it was a thing and it kept going. Like there was more resurgence into it in 1932. So it's always been a thing and now it's even more, like more people are believing in the legend as the year's going on.
Okay.
Yes. I thought you were going to question me about the date and I was like, don't question me about the date because this is what the newspapers told me. So it was connected to another urban legend, Uncle Perry. The legend was well known among the older generations. So it goes that there was a janitor, Uncle Perry, who worked at the University of Maryland's medical department. He was told that he would be paid $15 per body that could be used in the university's anatomy lab. At the time, $15 was a lot of money, about $343 today. So Uncle Perry began a career of murdering and body snatching.
It's probably not what they meant.
No, it is what they meant. They needed, at this time and like in older times, they needed bodies and cadavers to practice on.
Right, but I don't think they meant for him to go kill them. I think he probably meant for him to rob a grave.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But he realized that robbing the grave took more work. Because you have to dig and unbury the person and dig it all back. If you just kill someone, you have the body right there. That's what at this time, that became a really, really big business where people would go grave rob and then sell it to universities.
That I know.
Yeah, but so they started to just kill people because it was a quicker way to get bodies.
Okay.
What?
That's terrible.
Oh, I know. So he began his career of murder and body snatching. It was so bad, the murder and body snatching done by Uncle Perry, that there were hardly any souls in the street at night. It is said that the streets of Frederick were clear of hundreds who were usually going back and forth. This tale is still well known and has connections to the Snallygaster tale. So the connection is the whole don't go outside at night thing.
So is Uncle Perry the Snallygaster?
No, it was just a connection to like they hear the Snallygaster tale and they talk about this other urban legend of Uncle Perry. So it's like another way to just don't go outside.
Uncle Perry, I believe a lot sooner than a giant dragon with tentacled tongue.
Same. Tentacle tongue. Sarah Cooper, the one with the museum, doesn't shy away from the fact that the Snallygaster was once used as a, quote, racist dog whistle and doesn't want that to happen to it.
I was thinking about it and I wonder if like it wasn't necessarily running away, but I wonder if it was like people from, I don't know how far south Jim Crow laws went. And I know technically Maryland is above the Mason-Dixon line.
Technically.
Right. I'm wondering if like they're talking about if they're trying to escape the South in the sense of like the Jim Crow laws and things like that. But those people obviously were not on the right side of the war and are like, oh, but if you come here, this is much scarier. We have a monster here, so don't come to Maryland or whatever.
Maybe.
Yeah.
She also said like she talks about like Pepe the Frog. Or I don't know. It's like a meme that I'm not like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she says that became like a racist dog whistle. So that is like racist propaganda, I guess. At some point. Yeah. So at some point, I guess what she was saying was it kind of became this racist meme. And so that's why she doesn't want the Snallygaster to become that thing because it does have these bad parts of its history, but she doesn't want it to be known as a racist symbol because she's like, that's not what it is. That was for a part, but that's not what it is.
That's like what someone created it to be.
Yes.
That's not really.
She said, quote, I feel like part of making the museum and part of acknowledging the ugly history prevents people from making it into a racist dog whistle. I don't ever want it to become something ugly again. I want it to be something interesting and something we can learn from.
Fair.
So not only did slave owners benefit from tales of the Snallygaster, but the moonshiners also used the monster to their advantage as well. The stories were used to keep people out of the woods, especially the prohibition and revenue agents. They were also used to explain the sounds, so the explosions and bending metal that came from their stills at night. So if there's an explosion because their still blows up, they're like, it's a Snallygaster.
Yeah.
Dang it. So there are reports of people seeing this creature back in the 19th century and even earlier. The first report was from German immigrants in Frederick in the late 1700s. They described seeing a dragon-like creature with wings and sharp talons. They didn't have a name for it, but they saw it. In the 1800s, there were several more reports from people saying that the Snallygaster was attacking livestock in the area. One farmer even claimed that several of his pigs had been killed and claw marks had been left behind on the ground by the creature. A man in Casstown, Ohio, said that he saw a strange creature fly over his area making terrible screeching noises. He said it had 2 enormous wings, a large horny head, and a tail that was 20 feet long.
Do you think this is like maybe like a vulture or like...
I will get to explanations.
I was thinking like, I don't know, a bird that has a really big wingspan. Aren't like hawks supposed to be actually really freaking big?
Keep that in mind.
Or falcon or whatever. Okay.
In West Virginia, someone saw the beast almost catch a woman near Scrabble. Then it was found roosting in a farmer's barn. Then it laid an egg the size of a barrel near Sharpsburg. So side note, apparently the Snallygaster's eggs hatch every 20 years, which is about the lifespan of one.
So maybe that one Snallygaster was the problematic Snallygaster in the line of family of Snallygasters.
Maybe. It was also spotted in Maryland by a man who operated a brick-burning kiln near Cumberland. He saw the creature sleeping by the kiln, and when it awoke, it let out a blood-curdling scream and angrily flew away.
I mean, yeah, you're shooing it out of the barn.
Your barn.
Well, you know,
And by the kiln, it was probably nice and warm.
people don't like to be disturbed.
Sightings ramped up in the early 1900s. Reports were now coming out of this creature attacking humans, so naturally fear was spreading. In 1909, we had the encounter of the man who claimed to have seen the Snallygaster flying over his farm. He said the creature had a long neck, sharp teeth, and horn on its head. So you also have to add the horn with the eye as well.
Okay.
Last time it was seen in Frederick specifically was in March of 1909, when 3 men fought the creature outside a railroad station for nearly an hour and a half before chasing it into the woods of Carroll County.
I feel like half these stories come from like a husband or something like that showing up super late at night, hammered.
Scratches all over his back.
And he's like, honey, you will never believe what we ran into on our way home.
That damn Snallygaster.
Mm.
In November of 1932, Charles Maine, a well-known Middletown resident and ice cream entrepreneur.
Say it like that.
Spotted it one early morning. He said that its wings appeared to be between 12 and 14 feet long, and that at times, quote, it threw out long streamers like the arms of an octopus, but would draw them in again. I assume from the mouth. June 1973, there were more sightings in Baltimore County. M-Force had to be called in, but they were unable to locate the creature.
M-Force?
I don't know what that stood for. I looked it up, and I tried to find out what is M-Force. It kept bringing me up to results for clothing things. It was like M-Force is like the amount of time you wear your clothes and the intensity of which your clothes are worn. And I said, that's not this.
No.
So apparently in 1990, I said that twice, M-Forcers did kill a Snallygaster in Carroll County. The remains were taken to the Triangle Center for study. So the Triangle, I assume, is the one down in Quantico.
But that's not even in Maryland.
I know, but like the Triangle Center for Study. So it's going to study stuff.
I thought that was a military base.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I'm assuming M-Force is like some military craft that saw the like creature and killed it and brought it back there for studying.
Is that what that place is called?
The Triangle?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
I mean, I know it was called the Triangle, but I didn't know if it was officially called the Triangle. I thought we just called it that because it was shape. Or is it like the Pentagon?
There's a Triangle Center, which is a shopping mall. Yeah, I mean, there's Triangle, Virginia, which is an actual place, and the National Museum of the Marine Corps is there. So it could be something there.
Is M-Force Marine Force?
Who knows?
M-Force.
M-Force. There have even been a few more recent sightings in Maryland and the surrounding area. In 2018, a group of hikers claimed that they saw it flying over the Appalachian Mountains. They described it as having a wingspan of over 20 feet and that it was emitting a loud screeching sound.
Like a bird?
So, to the explanations, we do have some possible explanations for what the Snallygaster could be. Many believe that sightings of the Snallygaster can be attributed to misidentification of known animals. So, for example, eagles and vultures are large animals that have wingspans that far exceed their actual sizes.
Yeah, and don't vultures have like a weird shaped head?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. This is true in December 1st of 1921. The News, another newspaper, reported that the Snallygaster had finally been captured, but it turned out to be nothing more than a large owl.
Owl, interesting. I wouldn't go with owl though, based on their shape of their head.
Well, they have the barn owls. They have like this little thingy on their head, like kind of their feathers go like this, and people often mistake Mothman for barn owls.
That I can understand.
Yeah, so it could be kind of a similar thing.
I'm just thinking with like the
type tentacles, though.
Yeah, and like the beak that it's talking about. Like I don't.
Yeah,
and
I
a
don't see that with
horn.
an owl. Yeah. Bears and other large mammals can also be mistaken for a Snallygaster just due to how big they are.
That I would not even.
I didn't think that one either. But. Or, as like many like to say and believe, it is nothing more than hoaxes or myths.
Maybe it's a flying snake.
Ew. Some of the sightings may truly just be people intentionally spreading false information or trying to gain notoriety, or trying to lie to their wives about why they were out late. Additionally, the tales of the Snallygaster have been passed down through generations, and with this, embellishment over time isn't an uncommon thing.
Sure.
So you see a big bird. Next thing you know, the big creature flew over. And then the next thing you know, the big creature attacked you.
Yeah.
And dropped you in a ravine, but you still could tell the story. The Snallygaster has appeared in many different media representations. In 2018, there was a movie called The Snallygaster of Landis Valley, where the creature was portrayed as a terrifying monster who terrorized the small community. It has also been mentioned in movies and TV shows like Lost Tapes and Supernatural, to name a few. In Frederick, the Frederick Arts Council has commissioned various artists to create sculptures of the creature, which are displayed throughout the city. There is an annual beer festival, which started in D.C. in 2011, called Snallygaster. It is described as, quote, a beastly beer jamboree.
Yeah, it was fun.
I want to go. Okay.
Yeah.
The Dragon Distillery in Frederick now sells a Snallygaster rye.
Nice.
South Mountain Creamery, a dairy farm in Frederick County, produces an ice cream flavor named Snallygaster.
All right.
If you made an ice cream named Snallygaster, how would you make it? What would be the ingredients?
Ooh, good question. Snallygaster. Something mint.
Okay.
Because green.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're picturing it as a green creature?
I assumed all dragons are mostly green.
Oh, okay.
Did you not say green?
No.
Hmm.
I said like a yellowish brown. But that's okay.
Maybe a vanilla
Okay.
with cookie dough and whatever colored sprinkles of the Snallygaster, green, yellow.
Oh, okay.
Some sort of sauce of some kind.
Okay.
Maybe some gummy bears.
Just throw all these things in.
Yeah.
Ooh, or maybe gummy worms to be like the tentacles.
Yeah.
No. So theirs, at least. Yours is a great description. I would eat it. But theirs is...
I wouldn't. So.
Oh, I would. I think it sounds good. So theirs is peanut butter flavored ice cream with caramel swirl, peanut butter cups, and pretzels.
Oh, there's much better than mine. Oh, that sounds so
I
good.
know.
That sounds amazing.
I was like, oh, because Moose Tracks are my favorite ice cream. This is very similar to Moose Tracks. And I was like,
peanut butter.
Oh, yeah. Peanut butter, chocolate. Oh. So yeah, totally would order this. But the Snallygaster has also appeared in the Harry Potter universe.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Where?
In Incredible Creatures.
Oh,
or
okay. Yeah.
No, not in any of not in any of the OG Harry Potters.
Okay.
But with the bad I mentioned earlier, there are good things that have come from the Snallygaster legends. Conservation efforts for the Snallygaster have been ongoing for years. This may sound silly, but think of it. So if you're protecting these environments where this creature is said to live, that means that you're also protecting the environment for many other animals as well.
Whatever it takes.
So this is an overall good thing. The Nature Conservancy has been a major player in these efforts. They've been instrumental in educating the public about the importance of conservation. So there you have the Snallygaster.
Some definite fact checking we need to do with that Snallygaster, because these stories are taking timelines and crossing them.
Yeah.
And it don't make no sense.
It also talked about like the KKK and the Confederacy and stuff like that as well. I very much condensed that whole section because I didn't want to talk about all the dark stuff too much. But it was kind of all of that in this time.
The Confederacy was over.
Wow. So it could have been before 1932 exactly, but it was around that time when like the other tales were coming out.
Well, yeah, that's why I was thinking Jim Crow.
Yeah.
And like all that stuff at that time.
But yeah, I like thinking of it as the happy thing where it's like a peanut butter ice cream near festival in DC. Like those are the good things.
And if you think about it, when you take a creature and put a human story to it, it's very clear that these people are the ones who are saying that this creature does this.
Right.
It's not like it has been said.
Yeah.
You know, like there are other multiple stories of it, like it attacks children, which is still pretty bad.
Yeah.
You're obviously still picking a very select group of people. But I definitely feel like that sounds like it sounds like it comes out of left field.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, so I mean, we've covered other cryptids where I'm like, totally real. Could totally be real.
Yeah.
Then we cover some where I'm like, you're a fun story.
Yeah. This is definitely one of those that I'm like, that sounds nice.
Yep. Like, this is fun.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've seen a 20-foot creature with all these legs and tentacles and an eye and a horn.
Well, you know,
flying around Maryland.
It's funny you say about like how these stories change as new people tell them. Even when you're researching things, I noticed that too. Where like one site will say, oh, this person worked for the state of Maryland. And then the next two say that she was a Secretary of State.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, that was a big jump.
Right.
And so I feel like that's, in this case too, it just like builds on top of it.
Yeah.
So it's a good story though. I'm excited to draw the Snallygaster.
I'm very excited for you to draw the Snallygaster. You have so much information that you can put into this thing.
Oh my God, this is going to be great. I'm going to like pull up a couple of pictures of other things that I imagined when you were telling me this. And I'm going to like trace it because again, I can't draw.
Yeah.
And then I'll just add the features to it as
I'm
I go.
very excited.
Me too.
But yeah, so Maryland's kind of fun.
Maryland is fun.
Scary.
It depends on where you go.
Depends on where you go.
Because even though it's above the Mason-Dixon line.
It depends on where you go.
It depends
on how populated of the place you're at and if you're in the backwoods or not.
Unfortunately, west.
Yeah.
The handle. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
over there.
all our states with handles don't end up turning out too well.
That's a very good observation. Because you're absolutely right. Yeah, I can think of about 3 off the top of my head.
3.
Oklahoma,
Yeah.
Florida, Maryland.
Yeah.
Nebraska kind of has a little handle, but there's also not much going on in
Well, I
Nebraska.
think that is like more like a nose.
A nose. Okay.
It's like a chunk.
What would be a third one then? Well,
Yeah.
I guess a fourth because we're counting Maryland.
Well, do you count Idaho?
Or Virginia.
We don't have a handle. We have a bottom.
We have like a kind of, it could be like a little frying pan handle.
No. It's different when it's on the bottom.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not a handle.
Because I'm looking at all the other states that have it. I'm like, yeah, well, in my brain, because we don't have a map.
Yeah.
Well, then would you consider Idaho or would that be a spout?
Well, that's what I was asking. Is Idaho one, even though it's upright?
I think that's a spout then.
Right. Because I feel like a handle, like a handlebar.
Right. So yeah, that's a spout. We have what did you call ours?
A bottom.
Okay.
I couldn't think of the word, but I'm like, not a handle, but like I don't know. A
hand placement.
Yeah. A tail.
Okay.
We have a tail.
Okay. So anything that has a tail, a handle, a spout, it can be problematic.
No. Just the handle.
The spout's pretty problematic too.
The spout, yeah. We'll give the spout. Yeah, that's...
And anything below where we live is also problematic. Yeah.
Yes. But not all states that have a tail are problematic.
Right.
Like Massachusetts, I'd consider it. Or like New York, Long Island. It's like a little tail.
Yeah. I was thinking the same thing with those. I was thinking that like Massachusetts has like a hook.
Oh, what about Vermont though? Was that considered a spout?
It would be New Hampshire.
New Hampshire?
No, I wouldn't say it's a spout because the state kind of goes like this. It doesn't have like a handle.
Yeah, like a true...
Yeah, like Idaho, I could pick that up.
Yeah, like a stick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Glad we're on the same page with this one.
Yeah. So handle states, no bueno. Tail states, iffy.
Mm-hmm.
Spouts, definitely not a good one.
And if we talked about your state, I'm sure you are lovely because you listen to this podcast.
Correct.
But there are other people who are not lovely.
Yes.
And that's who we're talking
But
about.
that's also why it's important to go out and vote, because even though you might live in a safe state where you can be who you want to be and do the things you want to do, there are people who are in that same community or different ones who don't live in those states that don't have it safe. And so that's why you have to go out and vote so that those states can have the same things that other states do.
Yes, please vote. So yeah, that's all we have for Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
So stay scary.
Stay safe.